What if I told you that in just 1 hour you could shift something deep inside you, something that has been holding you back for years? Attention, this will work for you in an hour. That's not just a statement, it's a reality waiting to unfold. Right now, you might be skeptical. Maybe you've tried countless methods, read books, attended workshops, or even convinced yourself that change takes months, even years. But what if the key has been within you all along, and you just haven't known how to turn it? Attention, this will work for you in an hour, if you understand and apply what I'm about to show you, step by step. The difference between those who struggle for a lifetime and those who transform in moments is not luck or talent, it's knowledge. It's about understanding the exact mechanisms that shape your reality and, more importantly, how to rewire them fast. You don't need more time. You don't need more effort. You need the right approach. And in the next hour, I will guide you through a process that can shift your mind, your emotions, and even your body. The question is, are you willing to see how the science behind instant change? Every single thought you have, every emotion you feel, and every action you take is not just a fleeting moment. It's a neurological event that leaves a mark on your brain and body. These patterns, repeated over time, don't just shape your mindset, they become who you are. They settle into your nervous system, etching themselves into the subconscious like grooves on a record. And once they're there, they don't just go away. They dictate how you see the world, how you react, how you make decisions, even when you don't realize it. Most people try to break free from these patterns, the only way they know how, by using force. They attempt to push past their doubts with sheer willpower, to overpower their fears with positive thinking, to drown out their limiting beliefs with affirmations. But here's the problem. If the body has memorized stress, self-doubt, or failure as its baseline, no amount of conscious effort can override what is deeply programmed in the subconscious. That's why so many people struggle, why change feels so exhausting. They're fighting against a system that has already been programmed to resist. True transformation doesn't happen through struggle, it happens through understanding. You don't need to force your mind into a new way of thinking. You need to teach your body a new way of being. And that only happens when you shift your energy, when you create an internal experience so vivid and so emotionally powerful that it overrides the programming of the past. Because the brain doesn't change through effort, it changes through experience. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Were they things you repeated in your head 1,000 times? Or were they the experiences that hit you so deeply that they altered your perspective in an instant? That's the key. When you feel something so profoundly that your entire being absorbs it, that's when change happens, not through repetition, but through intensity. This is why people who undergo near-death experiences often transform overnight. They don't have time to debate change, they become different. The weight of the experience is so profound that their old patterns dissolve instantly. But you don't need a crisis to experience this. You can generate this level of transformation deliberately by understanding the mechanisms that create change and applying them with precision. Your brain and body are constantly adapting to the input they receive. If you keep feeding them the same thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, they will keep producing the same results. But the moment you introduce a new, heightened experience, one that carries the emotional weight of transformation, your entire system takes notice. It begins to rewire. It starts building new neural pathways. It shifts from who you were to who you are becoming. This is not a process that requires years. It doesn't even require months. If you understand how to shift your internal state correctly, it can happen in an instant. Because the moment your brain and body accept a new reality as truth, your external world has no choice but to follow. What if your thoughts each morning weren't really yours? What if the stress, the worry, and the doubt were nothing more than Automated programs running in the background, programs you never consciously agreed to. And more importantly, what if you could rewrite them? Why most people stay stuck. Every morning, before their feet even touch the ground, most people have already set their day in motion, not by choice, but by habit. The moment they wake up, their mind automatically scans for familiar thoughts, unfinished tasks, unresolved worries, past mistakes. These thoughts trigger familiar emotions, stress, frustration, doubt, and those emotions dictate their behavior. They pick up their phone, scroll through the same social media feeds, check the same emails, react to the same problems. They might tell themselves that today will be different, that they'll finally break free from the habits that hold them back. But before they even leave their bed, their body has already made the decision for them. This isn't happening because they lack willpower or discipline. It's happening because the body has memorized their past so well that it no longer needs the mind's permission to run the program. The nervous system, like a perfectly trained machine, executes the same sequence every single day, and the more they repeat this loop, the stronger it becomes. The emotions of stress, worry, and self-doubt aren't just psychological states. They are biochemical signals that reinforce the past, keeping them trapped in a cycle they no longer consciously choose. The hardest part about change isn't learning something new. It's unlearning what has been running the show for years, sometimes decades. People might read books, attend seminars, or set new goals. But if their body is still addicted to the chemical states of the past, real transformation remains out of reach. The body craves what is familiar, even if that familiarity is pain, struggle, or fear. Think about this. If someone has spent years waking up in a state of anxiety, their nervous system has adapted to function under that condition. It expects it. It needs it. If they suddenly remove stress from their life, their body will panic, not because stress is good, but because it has become normal. This is why some people sabotage their own success, why they create conflict where none exists, why they resist peace even when they desperately want it. Their body is trying to return to what it knows. So how do you break free? By giving your brain and body an experience stronger than the pull of the past. You must create an internal shift so powerful, so emotionally intense, that it disrupts the old programming in an instant. This isn't about forcing yourself to think positively. It's about overriding the system entirely. The nervous system must experience something new with such depth that it no longer defaults to the past. Imagine someone who has lived in self-doubt for years. If they suddenly experience an overwhelming wave of confidence, not just as a thought, but as a full-body realization, everything changes. Their nervous system records this moment, and for the first time, there is an alternative to the old way of being. The mind has proof that a different state is possible, and once that door is opened, there is no going back. The process of change doesn't begin with effort. It begins with interruption. The moment you break the cycle, even for a second, you create an opening, and in that opening, anything is possible. The power of mental rehearsal. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Every thought you think, every scenario you imagine, every moment you relive in your mind shapes the structure of your brain. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what happens out there in the physical world and what happens inside your mind. It treats both as equally real. This is not speculation, it's neuroscience. When you mentally rehearse an event with enough clarity, intensity, and emotion, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if the experience were actually happening. The same circuits fire, the same chemical messengers flood your system, and the same networks strengthen. In other words, through focused mental rehearsal, you can train your brain and body for an experience before it physically occurs. Elite athletes understand this deeply. A sprinter doesn't just train their muscles, they train their mind. Before the race, they close their eyes and become the runner they need to be. They see themselves crouched at the starting blocks, every muscle vibrating with potential energy. They hear the distant hum of the crowd, feel the cool air against their skin. They focus on their breath, their heartbeat, the tension in their legs. Then, in their mind, the starting gun fires. Their body reacts as if it were real. Their mind records this moment as truth, and by the time they step onto the track, their nervous system is already primed for success. Now, take a moment and apply this concept to yourself. What if, instead of waiting for change, you trained yourself to become the person you wish to be? What if you conditioned your mind and body to experience success, confidence, or transformation before it ever showed up in your external world? Most people wake up and mentally rehearse their past without realizing it. They replay the same doubts, the same failures, the same struggles over and over again. Their brain strengthens the pathways of limitation, reinforcing the belief that nothing will change. But the same principle that keeps them stuck is the one that can set them free. If you begin to mentally rehearse the future you want, with the same intensity and detail that an athlete rehearses their performance, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system adapts. Your subconscious mind starts preparing for that reality. Your body aligns with the emotions of success, and suddenly you find yourself making choices, attracting opportunities, and stepping into situations that match that new version of you. This is not magic, it's biology. When you truly embody a new identity through mental rehearsal, your brain no longer sees it as something distant or unattainable. It sees it as familiar, and the moment something becomes familiar, it becomes possible. So the question is, what future are you rehearsing right now? If your brain is always preparing for what's next, wouldn't you rather train it to expect greatness instead of reliving old limitations? Because the moment you do, your reality will begin to follow. What if your emotions are the very thing holding you hostage? What if your body is so addicted to past feelings that it resists anything new, no matter how much you want to change? And what if the key isn't thinking differently, but feeling differently first? The role of elevated emotions. Thoughts alone are not enough. You can visualize success, repeat affirmations, and mentally rehearse your future every day. But if your emotions remain stuck in the past, nothing changes. The mind might hold the vision, but the body won't believe it. And unless the body believes, your external world remains the same. Emotion is the catalyst for transformation. It is what makes the brain pay attention, what signals to the nervous system that something real is happening. This is why memories attached to strong emotions, whether joy or pain, are the ones we never forget. The greater the emotional charge, the deeper the imprint. Most people try to create change from a state of lack. They want abundance, but they feel scarcity. They desire love, but they feel loneliness. They dream of confidence, but they feel doubt. And what they don't realize is that the body is responding not to the thoughts they are thinking, but to the emotions they are feeling. If the dominant emotion is frustration, fear, or uncertainty, the message being sent to the brain is, nothing has changed. The key is to elevate your emotions, to train yourself to feel as if the future you desire is already happening now. Not just as a thought, but as a full-body experience. The moment you generate the emotions of your future in the present, your brain and body begin to align with that reality. This isn't about pretending or forcing positivity, it's about embodying the energy of your desired future so deeply that your nervous system records it as truth. When you experience genuine gratitude before receiving, when you feel the excitement of success before it manifests, when you step into love before it arrives, your body begins to shift, your chemistry changes, your electromagnetic field expands, and the environment around you starts responding to this new signal. This is how transformation happens in an instant, not through struggle, not through willpower, but through being the version of yourself that already exists in your future. The moment your internal world changes, the external world has no choice but to follow. The shift in brainwaves. Your brain is an electric powerhouse, constantly oscillating at different frequencies that shape your perception of reality. These brainwave states determine whether you are alert and analytical, deeply relaxed, or even in a state of heightened creativity and intuition. But here's what most people don't realize. Your ability to transform your life depends on which brainwave state you are operating from. Most people live their lives trapped in high beta brainwaves. This is the state of survival, where thoughts race, stress dominates, and the mind is constantly analyzing, worrying, and anticipating threats. In high beta, the brain becomes fragmented, chaotic, and hyper-focused on problems. It's like a radio station full of static, making it nearly impossible to focus on solutions, let alone create a new future. When you are locked in this pattern, change feels overwhelming. You may want transformation, but your nervous system is wired for reaction, not creation. The key to unlocking your ability to rewire your mind lies in shifting your brainwaves into lower frequencies, specifically alpha and theta. Alpha brainwaves are the gateway to transformation. This is the frequency of relaxation, creativity, and focus. When you enter alpha, your mind slows down, your body relaxes, and you become more present. This is where you begin to disconnect from the analytical mind and enter a more intuitive, receptive state. But the real magic happens in theta. Theta is the state of deep meditation, of profound learning, of subconscious reprogramming. In theta, your brain becomes highly suggestible, meaning it is open to new ideas, new beliefs, and new ways of being. This is the state where old patterns dissolve and new neural pathways form effortlessly. It is the state where deep healing takes place. So how do you get there? The most effective way is through deliberate practices that shift your brain from high beta into these lower frequencies. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools for this, as it allows you to slow down your brain waves, quiet the noise of the conscious mind, and access the subconscious directly. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, signaling to the body that it is safe to relax. Visualization, when done correctly, immerses you in an experience so deeply that your brain believes it's real. Once you enter these states, you are no longer battling against your old self. You are stepping into a space where change happens naturally. Your subconscious, which runs 95% of your daily behavior, is wide open. And when you implant new beliefs, rewire old patterns, and align your emotions with the future you want to create, the shift is no longer just mental. It becomes biological. This is why transformation doesn't require effort in the way most people think. It requires learning how to access the right states of consciousness. Because once you do, change is no longer something you force. It becomes something you allow, breaking free from the known. The greatest obstacle to change isn't lack of intelligence, talent, or resources. It's familiarity. Even when people feel stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled, they often remain in the same patterns because those patterns are known. The brain, designed for survival, prioritizes the predictable, even if that predictability means suffering. This is why so many people repeat the same struggles, relive the same emotions, and find themselves trapped in cycles they say they want to escape. It's not that they can't change, it's that their nervous system clings to what is familiar, mistaking comfort for safety, and anything unknown, no matter how promising or exciting, feels like a risk. If you've lived in fear, doubt, or anxiety for years, those states are not just emotions. They are habits. They have been memorized by your body, reinforced by your experiences, and solidified as part of your identity. The idea of stepping into confidence, clarity, or empowerment isn't just new, it feels unnatural. And unless you teach your body to embrace that new state as familiar, you will always default back to the old self. This is where most people get stuck. They wait for change to happen externally before they allow themselves to feel different internally. They think, once I have success, then I'll feel confident. Once I meet the right person, then I'll feel loved. Once my circumstances improve, then I'll be at peace. But this is an illusion. The external world does not create internal change. The internal shift must come first. To break free from the known, you must be willing to step into the unknown. You must become the version of yourself who already embodies the emotions, behaviors, and mindset of the reality you want before that reality arrives. This is not about faking confidence, clarity, or empowerment. It's about practicing it until your nervous system recognizes it as the new normal. Think of it this way. If you've spent years living in stress, your body is addicted to stress hormones. It expects them. So when you suddenly introduce peace, ease, or certainty, your system rejects it at first. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like you. But if you persist, if you practice stepping into that new version of yourself daily, those unfamiliar emotions become familiar. And once your nervous system adapts, the transformation is effortless. This is why rapid change is possible. You don't need years of effort. You need a deep, visceral experience of who you are becoming. The moment you teach your body to embrace a new state of being, your external world reorganizes itself around that identity, because reality does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. What if the greatest illusion isn't the difficulty of change, but the time you think it takes? What if the only reason transformation feels slow is because you've been conditioned to believe it must be? And what if the moment you question that belief, everything accelerates? The reality of instant change. Change is not bound by time. It is not something that requires months or years of slow, incremental progress. The idea that transformation must take a long time is just that. An idea, a program, a belief system, running in the background of the subconscious, dictating what is possible and what is not. But what if that belief was wrong? What if transformation wasn't something you had to chase, but something you could step into immediately? What if, instead of struggling against old habits, you could override them in an instant, not through effort, but through understanding? Neuroscience has already proven this. The moment you shift your focus, your emotions, and your energy, your brain and body begin responding to a new reality. Neural pathways reorganize, chemistry changes, genes activate in ways they never have before. Your entire system adapts, not gradually, but immediately. This isn't theory, it's science. Thousands of people have applied these principles, reprogramming their minds, healing their bodies, and breaking free from limitations they thought were permanent. They didn't do it through willpower or force. They did it by understanding how the mind and body truly work, and using that knowledge to become the change, rather than waiting for it. Think about a moment in your life that changed you instantly. A loss, a sudden realization, an experience so profound that you were never the same afterward. Did that change take years, or did it happen in a single moment of clarity? That same kind of shift is available to you right now, but it doesn't have to come from pain or crisis. It can come from decision. You are not bound by the patterns of your past. You're not limited by the conditioning that has been running your life on autopilot. The moment you choose to step into a new way of being, not just as a thought, but as a fully embodied experience, everything changes. This is not about trying to change. It is about becoming the version of yourself that already exists in your future, and once you do, time is no longer a factor. The transformation is instant. The only question is, are you ready to experience it for yourself? Reprogramming your identity at the deepest level. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every action you take is reinforcing who you believe you are. And whether you realize it or not, your identity, your deepest sense of self, is the filter through which your entire life is created. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, who isn't capable, who is always stuck, then no matter how much effort you put in, your subconscious will find a way to pull you back into alignment with that identity. This is why most attempts at change fail. People try to modify behaviors without changing the foundation, their identity. They say they want success, but they still see themselves as someone who never quite gets ahead. They want to be confident, but deep down, they still identify as someone uncertain and hesitant. They desire abundance, but at their core, they still feel like someone who lacks. And as long as that remains their internal truth, no external effort will create lasting transformation. Reprogramming your identity is the deepest work you can do. It's not about forcing yourself to act differently, it's about becoming different. The moment you shift your identity at the subconscious level, your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors naturally follow. You no longer have to try to be confident, disciplined, or successful. Those qualities emerge effortlessly because they are now a reflection of who you are. But how do you change something as deeply ingrained as identity? The answer lies in experience. Your current identity was built through years of emotional experiences, moments that shaped what you believe about yourself. To install a new identity, you must generate new experiences that are so emotionally impactful that they override the past. You must introduce your brain and body to a reality so vivid, so powerful, that they have no choice but to accept it as truth. One of the most effective ways to do this is through immersive mental and emotional rehearsal. Close your eyes and begin to live as the person you want to become. Step into their mind, their emotions, their posture, their confidence. See the world through their eyes. How do they think? How do they act? What do they feel on a daily basis? Stay in this experience long enough that your body begins to memorize it as if it were real. Because to your nervous system, it is real. Your identity is nothing more than a pattern, a set of repeated thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that have become familiar. But patterns can be rewritten. When you repeatedly embody a new identity, your brain begins forming new neural connections, your body starts producing different chemicals, and over time, the old self dissolves. What once felt unnatural becomes second nature. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. This is how deep transformation happens, not by struggling to change who you are, but by making the choice to become something greater. The moment you do, your external world will begin reflecting that shift, because your identity is your reality.